Hello there, guys. After visiting a couple forums and generally just playing the game, I've noticed that there is one very specific ship that, when seen on the horizon by many people, turns any game into like panic, into scramble. And we're talking about the Valparaíso. We've seen people complaining in chat, going into the whole "this ship is broken" mode. But for me, calling it broken doesn't really help you win in the next match or do better at all. But today we're gonna go through this noise and we're gonna filter out what is actually true about the ship and what's not. And then you're gonna get my point of view on Valparaiso, which is this. This is how I see Valpa every time I see it in the opposing team. So whenever you're trying to master this ship, or just tired of having to deal with it on your own, here's exactly how she works, and most importantly, how you can take her down. To start off, let's give a very short overview. Here's a build that I recommend, which is basically a standard secondary build with few major tweaks, such as the enhanced call module for the DCP, and you get the turning module because you already have the improved acceleration, whilst for captain we ditch the fire prevention and we go for extra heal. Nothing special. In terms of how to play Valpa, here is a quick tutorial. And that will be it. Thank you so... nah. Let's actually go to the real tutorial. Okay, let's get serious now. How to actually play Valpa. First of all, you need to remember what the Valpa is all about. It's not a ship to snipe, as AP-only guns are very unreliable and have horrible firing angles. Well, this is a British ship. Speaking of this being British, it also means that the armor of this battleship is dog water. It's absolutely horrible, and if you're not angled, you're basically eating all the citadels from basically anything. Pair this up with very big superstructure that makes you very juicy for upgraded AP angles on smaller calibers or just straight up sap. This is something that really kills you, especially combined with the fact that even though you have 7 super heals, the super heals are not really that capable of withstanding AP damage. They are very good at healing HE, the soft kind of damage. Ship, however, has, well, pretty decent secondaries. Well, they are pretty accurate. They don't really have a pen, but they make it up with the fire chance. Valpa also gets upgraded acceleration, so it's a little bit easier to steer it. So don't sit in the backline. With Valpa, you're gonna be wasting your potential with that. This ship is a brawler. Your win condition is built entirely around the secondaries and the combat instructions. The combat instructions are being charged with getting a kill to 100% or by getting just enough secondary hits. And what does it do? Well, it just quickly recharges your heal and DCP, meaning that you can basically be permanently on DCP and have heal basically off cooldown if you're within the secondary range of any basically ship. So what you're looking for is get into the middle range where your secondaries can open fire at the enemy and use your main battery front turrets to get some cheap damage, and if enemy is on reload, you can swing your back turrets, get a couple maybe lucky shots off, and continue in. You don't want to just blindly push in on the max speed, because this way you're gonna get too close too fast, meaning that you're gonna expose your very weak broadside and you don't get torpedoes. So you want to basically outlive, out-heal the enemy by also burning them down with your secondaries, because they're just gonna be working as like kind of a tiny Smolensk. This is really nothing really special or something that's requiring a lot of brain thought, I just gave those as basic things because some people still don't understand that pushing into a crossfire or pushing it too close is still not a good idea even in a ship like Valpa. Okay, so now to get over how to play and how to counter Valpa, I want to overanalyze one of the replays that I've had in one of my funny episodes that I think pictures what is the true power of Valparaiso in well, the most clear way. So let's get over to it. First of all, this is a very good matchmaking for me as I spawned on the flank. Even though I don't really get that much of an allied help, it's gonna be a pretty decent baseline to get something done. And from the start, I'm gonna be detected and pinged by enemy submarine. And thanks to the upgraded acceleration and turning module they have, I can evade some of those torpedoes. Where you can actually see how Valpa is struggling around range and generally being denied secondary hits when being constantly bombarded from all the sides. I want to notice that I don't really have anyone else right now that can actually support me, as my DD decided to well, get into obvious torpedoes from Jikujani. So I'm currently in a very nasty situation. My engine is down, I'm too far from the enemy to actually get any secondary hits going on, and I'm flooding, I'm being pinged, I'm being farmed, and my DCP is on cooldown. However, enemy made a very serious mistake over here. Right now, when I'm in my most vulnerable state, all they had to do is just kite away and don't let me get into the secondary range and wait for enemy submarine and Jikujani just to farm it down. They decided that this is a perfect time to push in because they are look, 3 or actually counting the DD and sub 5 against 3 ships. They felt overconfident, which gave me a perfect opportunity to charge my button. I also got the button. We would get the button charged from killing this cruiser, but that's something completely different, which gave me back my DCP on. I could repair my engine, get much closer, and start getting the heals on the go. Now, I want you to take a look at what this Jikujani did. This play would be very good if he had the torps, but he fired them too early. And even though my back guns did what the back guns on the Valpa used to do, which is miss point blank, my secondary still managed to kill him. If he stayed in the smoke screen a little bit longer or kited away, waited for his torps, and then rushed me, I would probably be dead. And enemy battleships are making even more mistakes now because, first of all, they keep going into my secondary range, but instead of trying to sandwich me, like for example this German battleship on the flank, could have just gone more towards the border and have my broadside, or force me to angle to him, and this way give the other battleships my broadside, so I would be giving broadside to either of them, meaning I would probably be dead. Also, this German battleship has torps. He could just continue pushing into me, but he decided to run away, and worst of all, spam HE, which is something the Valpa is really good against. The submarine continued to ping me for absolutely no reason, even though he had a couple good opportunities to actually hit me with the standard torps. And at this point of the game, when I already annihilated one side of my allies, this is basically a game over. Like, At this point, I'm having so much of an advantage that I could even go broadside and they would do absolutely nothing. And I actually managed to do one stupid thing, is that, look, even if you're having the worst possible guns in the game, there is still this RNG that can allow you to get to this one lucky citadel for a kill. It doesn't mean that the Valpa is a sniper, okay? To give another good picture about how to get Valparaiso, I have this Siegfried replay when well, I was kind of hard carrying. I love Siegfried, and in this moment I was skating away from the enemy team and I saw this Valpa that basically was full HP and ready on the heals and stuff, preparing to, well, finish off my team by getting the standard push. So what I did is that I went dark, I didn't activate my Hydro so he wouldn't know that I'm this close and approaching, and tried to surprise him from the side. He was angled to all my allies and was thinking that I will be kiting away. So I would be around the same part as they are, but surprise, I wasn't. And since his broadside is very vulnerable, well, I took a huge hits on him and basically he was dead. This is what I think. If you already let the Valpa into the secondary range and you're not faster than him, and I'm fairly sure most of the big battleships and some of the cruisers even are not, the only way is that you have to sandwich him between two allies, because he has to be angled on a actually very steep angle towards a ship to not take as much damage or not risk the citadel. So what you want to do is always to split up two allies, or if you see that he's focused on somebody else and that you want to go on the side and get as many side shots with AP shells as possible. If you're a destroyer, you want to do the same thing, but with torpedoes, because torpedoes are also very dangerous to Valpa. Like, he has to keep an angle. And this requires a little bit of a communication with your allies very often, which is something the World of Warships community lacks. Because even if you try to make a plan, they just don't listen. But if all of your ships are generally faster than Valpa, all you need to do is get anyone to spot him, and this can be done by anything that basically outspots him, right? Like any destroyer would do the job. And focus fire on him for a bit. Without the funny button, the heal has pretty big cooldown, and the Valpa actually does get a lot of HP as a baseline, so you can really quickly finish him off, especially considering that, well, it doesn't really get that good of an armor. I've heard things like, well, the rankeds are being decided by how many Valpas are in each team. And no, I had games when I was, like, for example, playing Valpa in ranked, and then we had two, and we had only me, and well, guess what? We won. It's the quality of a player that needs to make up for the difference in the ships. Okay, Valpa is the kind of ship that requires very little for getting a lot of pressure, but if the player is just decent, it's gonna technically backfire on the Valparaiso player, because he's gonna feel overconfident, overpush, die. There are also ships that specifically counter Valpa, and this is why I loved using Siegfried, this is why I loved using Michelangelo, but the German battle cruiser lines from the Schlieffen line are very good. because they have just enough armor to make the secondaries really non-pen. They have the fast DCP. They have better secondaries that will pen them if you run IFHE, which you should. And they also get the torpedoes, so they're much better on the drive-by. So that's a thing. If you want more specific counters to Valpa, I'll just say so in the comments. I can give you a very quick list in what you're searching for. Or if you're struggling with a very specific ship, say so as well, because I'm basically gonna make this choice for you if you don't know if you should be kiting away all the time or trying to brawl it, or something in between on that specific ship. Okay, I can totally tell you what you should be doing. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been Senpai Silent. I hope I helped you a little bit, and see you guys in another video.